Hello everyone. I hope you are all great and fine, and I'm very happy to start our lesson. And today we will talk about the gross domestic product, or in other words, GDP. And in front of you, Kahorva Nigina Abduvahidovna. I'm an English teacher of Kasha State Technical University. So let's get our lesson started.
And here are the things that we are going to learn about by the end of the lesson. And first, we are going to understand the concept of GDP. And secondly, we are going to learn the components of GDP. Thirdly, we are going to practice grammar, future simple tense. And finally, we're going to review the topic with the help of different activities, tasks, and listening. Well, before starting the lesson, I want you to give yourself the following questions and think about them and prepare your answers. So, first question, what do you think GDP measures? Second question, why is GDP important for a country? And the last question, can GDP truly reflect a country's economic health?
Alright, and now I would like to talk about GDP, which stands for Gross Domestic Product. GDP is one of the most important concepts in economics because it helps us understand how strong and productive a country's economy is. Simply put, GDP is the total monetary value of all goods and services produced within a country during a specific period, usually 1 year. Goods include physical products like cars, clothes, food, and smartphones. Services include activities such as healthcare, education, transportation, banking, and tourism. GDP is important because it shows whether an economy is growing or shrinking. When GDP increases, it usually means businesses are producing more, people are earning more money, and employment opportunities are increasing. On the other hand, when GDP decreases for a long time, it may signal an economic recession. Now let's look at the four main components of GDP. The first component is consumption, also called C. Consumption refers to household spending on goods and services. This includes everyday purchases such as food, electricity, clothes, transportation, and entertainment. In most countries, consumption is the largest part of GDP because people constantly buy products and use services in their daily lives. The second component is investment, represented by the letter I. Investment means spending by businesses on capital goods that can improve future production. For example, companies may buy machines, build factories, develop new technologies, or invest in research. Investment is very important because it helps businesses grow and increases future economic productivity. The third component is government spending, represented by G. This includes money spent by the government on public services and infrastructure projects. Examples are schools, hospitals, roads, bridges, public transportation, defense, and salaries for teachers, doctors, and police officers. Government spending helps improve people's quality of life and supports economic development. The final component is net export, or NX. Net exports are calculated by subtracting imports from exports. Exports are goods and services sold to other countries, while imports are goods and services bought from abroad. If a country exports more than it imports, net exports are positive and contribute to GDP growth. However, if imports are higher than exports, net exports become negative. Economists use three main methods to measure GDP. The first is the production approach. This method calculates the total value of all goods and services produced in the country while avoiding double counting. The second is the income approach. This method adds together all income earned in the economy, including wages, profits, rent, and interest. The third is the expenditure approach. This is the most common method and uses the formula GDP equals C plus I plus G plus NX. This is the formula. Another important concept is the difference between nominal GDP and real GDP. Nominal GDP measures economic output using current prices. It doesn't consider inflation. And real GDP, however, adjusts for inflation, making it more accurate for measuring true economic growth over time. For example, imagine a country produced goods and services worth 500 billion pounds this year and 550 billion pounds next year. This increase suggests economic growth. Businesses may have produced more products, employment may have increased, and citizens may have earned higher incomes. However, economists also analyze whether this growth is caused by increased production or simply by higher prices due to inflation. That's why real GDP is often considered more reliable. In conclusion, GDP is a key indicator of a nation's economic performance. It helps governments, businesses, and economists understand economic conditions and make important decisions. Although GDP doesn't measure happiness or quality of life directly, it remains one of the most widely used tools for evaluating economic progress. I think you now have a basic understanding of GDP. Now, to test and strengthen your knowledge, answer the following questions. First, what does GDP measure? Second one, name the four components of GDP. Third one, what is the difference between nominal and real GDP? Fourth one, why is GDP important for governments and businesses? And the fifth one, give a real-life example of GDP growth or decline. And now let's do the true or false exercise, where you should read the statements and decide if they are true or false. And you'll be given 30 seconds, and after that, we'll check the answers together. Now let's check the answers together. Number 1, GDP measures only goods, not services. It's false because GDP measures both goods and services produced in a country. Second one, consumption is a major part of GDP, and that's true. In fact, consumption is usually the largest component of GDP in many economies. Number 3, net exports equals imports plus exports. This statement is false because net exports are calculated as exports minus imports, not plus. And fourth one, real GDP adjusts for inflation. It's true. Real GDP gives a more accurate picture of economic growth because it considers price changes. Fifth one, GDP decline can signal a recession. That's true. When GDP decreases for a period of time, it may indicate an economic recession. Sixth one, investment includes buying stocks and bonds. And that's false. In GDP, investment refers to business spending on capital goods like factories, machines, and equipment, not financial investments like stocks. Seventh one, government spending is included in GDP. That's true because the government spending is one of the four main components of GDP. And finally, number 8, nominal GDP is adjusted for price changes. That's false because nominal GDP doesn't adjust for inflation. It does real GDP. Excellent job, everyone. These questions help us better understand how GDP works and why it's important in economics. So let's move on to the next exercise. Here we should match the economic terms with their definitions. Here are the words on the left, and you should match them with the definitions on the right. Alright, everyone, now let's match the economic terms with their correct definitions. So GDP means the total money value of all goods and services produced in a country. Next one, consumption, refers to spending by households on goods and services. Investment means spending by businesses on capital goods like machines and equipment. Government spending is public sector expenses on infrastructure, healthcare, and salaries. Net exports, these are exports minus imports. Nominal GDP is GDP measured without adjusting for inflation. Real GDP is GDP adjusted for price changes or inflation. And finally, economic growth means increase in a country's GDP over time. Excellent work. These concepts are very important for understanding how an economy functions and grows. And now you're going to listen an audio and match the beginning sentence with their correct endings.
Listening. Unit 11. Gross Domestic Product. Listen and match the halves. Gross Domestic Product, or GDP, is the total value of goods and services produced in a country during a specific period. GDP is composed of consumption, investment, government spending, and net exports. Economists measure GDP in three ways: production, income, and expenditure approaches. Real GDP adjusts for inflation, while nominal GDP does not. GDP growth signals economic expansion, and a decline may indicate a recession. Understanding GDP helps governments make policy and businesses plan strategies.
Alright, dear listeners, I think it didn't make you difficult to find the answers. If so, let's check it out together, and the answers are as following. GDP measures money value of goods and services produced. Consumption is household spending on goods and services. Investment is Business spending on capital goods. Government spending includes public sector expenses. Net export equal exports minus imports. Real GDP adjusts for inflation. Nominal GDP does not adjust prices. GDP growth indicates increase in economic activity. Now let's briefly discuss the future simple tense. So this tense is used to talk about future actions, predictions, plans, promises, and expectations. The structure is easy: subject plus will plus base verb. For example, I will study. They will work. The economy will grow. And remember, after will, we always use the base form of the verb. Now let's look at the main uses of future simple. First, we use it for predictions. For example, GDP will increase next year. Economic growth will improve in the future. Secondly, we use it for future plans or expectations. And for example, the government will build new roads. Companies will invest more money. Thirdly, we use it for promises or decisions. For example, I will finish my report tomorrow. We will analyze the country's GDP. Some common signal words are tomorrow, next year, soon, later, in the future. And now let's look at negative sentences. And its structure is as following: subject plus will not plus base verb. And short form is won't. For example, GDP will not decline. The company won't reduce investment. For questions, we put will at the beginning. And for example, will GDP grow next year? Will the government increase spending? Future simple is very important in economics because economists often make predictions about the future. For example, inflation will rise. Real GDP will improve. Net exports will increase. Now that we understand the future simple better, we can now use it correctly in the project task. Now, let me explain your project task and homework clearly. For this homework, you will prepare a short economic report about one country of your choice. You can choose countries such as Uzbekistan, the United States, China, South Korea, Germany, or any other country you are interested in. Your report must be between 300 and 500 words. In this project, you will use both economic knowledge and grammar knowledge together. First, you need to include the country's GDP information for the last 3 years. You should mention both nominal GDP and real GDP if possible. Second, explain the main components that contribute to the country's GDP. For example, you may talk about consumption, investment, government spending, and net exports. Third, discuss whether the country experienced economic growth or economic decline during these years. Try to explain the reasons briefly. And another important requirement is grammar. In this task, you must use the future simple tense because today's grammar topic is future simple. And don't forget to add base verb after will. That's all for today's lesson, everyone. You did a great job today learning about GDP, economic growth, and future simple grammar. I hope this lesson helped you better understand how economies work and how English can be used in real economic contexts. I wish all of you success in your studies and good luck with your project tasks. And I'm sure your presentations will be creative and interesting. Have a wonderful day, take care of yourselves, and see you in the next lesson. Goodbye.